Well, we have a lot here. Biden giving chilling nuclear warning over attacking Iran after a kamikaze drone takes the lives of our troops. Now, we just did a video over on Marfoogle News about those troops, and we actually just started up a message line 24/7 for information regarding anything that is going on with what is happening right now. This is getting really, really insane. And of course, now they say ex-UN weapons inspector David Albright said that Iran may accelerate its already well-developed nuclear weapons program if the U.S. decides to launch direct strikes on their territory. It says that U.S. President JB has been giving a chilling nuclear warning over attacking Iran after 3 U.S. soldiers were, of course, perished by a kamikaze drone. Ex-UN weapons inspector David Albright said that the rogue state could be led into thinking that building nuclear warheads is the best way out if they are directly targeted by the U.S. in retaliation for the deaths. The U.S. Central Command confirmed the killings today and said a further 25 were wounded in the attack by Iran-backed militia, who Mr. Albright said would have used a kamikaze drone. President JB said that the U.S. would hold all those responsible to account at a time and in a manner of our choosing. It says Mr. Albright, who has previously claimed that Iran is just 5 months away from building 12 nuclear weapons, agreed it was important that the U.S. sent, quote, a clear message. Now, some of this, nothing is funny about our 3 soldiers' lives being lost, but I want to point out, I have seen so many articles over the last 5 years say a different number for what they're about to make. It said they're months away, 5 months, and they always give you exact numbers. They're 5 months away from making 12 nuclear bombs. Like, it's just, I get that they're trying to, why not say, we guess that they may be able to do this, but they always give you, they're 5 months away from making 7.5 nuclear bombs. How do they know? Again, it's like something that I've heard so many times over the last 2 years, especially, that we don't know what to believe. But again, today we have really serious stuff to talk about. This is an act of war. This is the thing we were talking about for months, and now it happened. Am I surprised? No. But am I happy about it? No. I'm extremely concerned, and so is everybody else. You should be concerned, and I know that we're going to talk about that tonight. But before we move on, again, I want to remind you tonight we have tons of stuff on the docket. So if you haven't already, make sure to go check out our website. You will see that today we are talking about Neuralink's implants, first human brain chip. It was announced. Telepathy. No joke. We'll talk about that here. Tower 22 in Jordan. We'll talk about calls for disproportionate strikes, new NATO warnings. We'll talk about China threatens Taiwan. We have North Korea tests new sub-missiles. And of course, Navy recruiting just did this. We have Royal Navy lacks firepower. We have military industry. Who's faster? We have India is arming the Philippines. Spies in Iran know more. And Iran's plot against the U.S. resident. So we will cover that in just a second. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. One without the light has no one. All right. Remember, you can go to marfooglenews.com to find a full bibliography of every single article, tweet, video, picture, document we're going to talk about here today. There's a full source list. A lot of channels do not end up giving you any kind of source. Again, there's some good channels that don't, but again, it's very, very frustrating when you go, well, what's the source? And the source is, I guess, somebody. So remember, you can always go check this out, marfooglenews.com. You can find every single source for every article, tweet, video, picture, document that we are sharing here today. That way you know exactly where it comes from and you are able to find it yourself. If we don't read through an entire article, you can go back and look through it yourself. We're going to go right back into the news, but first let's bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
Colorado. Hey, what is going on? We've got Jesus Freak. We've got Rostar, Shorty 38. Thank you, Jesus Freak, for being here. J Pass. We've got Annie Oakley 777. We have Tracy Q. We have Wing It with Ethan. What is happening? 3 Horses Running. Sign Digger, Genius by Birth. Hey, thank you for your support this month. Nickel Wise, Morrison, Colorado. We've got Briar Patch, NJM, Black Sheep, Jammer One. Thank you for holding it down in chat. And Up North Girl, it's been a minute. Into the Sunset 369, Janet Ruth Haynes. Hello. Hey, good time. Joe Scheidt from Tenino, Washington. Domenico Luvara, Victoria, Australia. What is happening? Derek from Central Ohio. Cindy from San Diego in the house. Boise, Idaho in the house. MTG. Terry Lee. You guys already know the deal. I didn't even have to say roll call when you started. Hey, thank you. And then East Tennessee, thank you. Wisconsin, we have Mexico, we have Brazil, Washington, D.C. Hello, those of you watching on X. I appreciate all of you guys. More Ohio, some OHIO, Mohap, and everyone else. So, Dex, let's go back into, I can't forget South Carolina and Minnesota. You guys are awesome. Thank you. And Arkansas. Very, very few from Arkansas, actually. But let's go back into this. So first of all, everything that happened today is what we've talked about, this exact scenario happening so many times, and now it's here. The exact scenario, just like before CV, when we said, hey, they're doing exercises for this, they're doing drills for this, they expect this, they're putting out these op-eds that we believe this is going to happen just like this. Now it is happening, and it's all part of it. I mean, it almost seems like they're going on a script or something. It's happening in such order, right? But Dex, as far about the nuclear warning, it's creepy.
Yeah, it is, because it's sort of like saying, hey, they're going to be like North Korea. In other words, they're scrambling already to get have nuclear power so they can have the ability to use that as a defense mechanism. But if we do an attack on them, it's going to make it happen even more. That's just one opinion. But at the same time, what we've got going on here is kind of crazy. And by the way, NJM, I just want to shout him out from the last show over on our news. We did the short, put out a super to us and said, I can't believe they couldn't identify the drone. Look, that is a key part of this story. And what it does is it allows for a lot of questions. And if you guys aren't familiar with what they said happened, is they said this drone snuck in underneath another drone, one of our drones. So we saw our drone coming in and we didn't think anything of this other drone that was behind it, or we just didn't identify that it was there. They also claim it was flying low. Now, I find it hard to believe that our military doesn't have the ability to identify 2 flying objects, even if they are stacked, because we have, when fighter planes are flying, a lot of times they are stacked tight. They try to look different in their flight signature, and then they break apart, and all of a sudden you've got multiple planes or multiple bogies, as they would call them. We know that happens. So why we wouldn't have radar that could tell us, the difference between a cheap enemy drone flying low and our big expensive drone coming in for a landing? That leaves this question out there. And I think that maybe that is part of the narrative, or part of what they want, is they can have this deniability and say, well, it wasn't just like we got hit because we're dumb and we don't know what we're doing. There's this reason, and maybe there's some little way they found a way that we didn't realize we were protected. They found our blind spot, so to speak. I don't know that I'm buying it.
And it's like, so they say if it flew in low, so did the American drone fly in super, super low underneath radar too, because some even said it was the impression that it came right underneath. So it's almost in either the same shadow and that wouldn't have been, they said, oh, if it did, it may have been a coincidence. If it did that, then no, it's not a coincidence. Do you think that the pilot saw one and go, oh, this is the chance, and then went underneath and then popped down on the barracks? I don't know, just the whole thing. And then, so this is out of 150 plus attacks now we covered, and I've covered this for a long time for months and months and months since it started, and since about 10 days after they started these attacks on U.S. troops. First of all, an attack without anyone dying is an act of war. If we have an American citizen somewhere and somebody purposely attacks them, even if it's punch in the face, that's an act of war depending on the circumstance. But when you have time and time again, they said, oh, there's been 6 attacks on U.S. troops, but luckily they all got away with, traumatic brain injury. Then it was 6, then it was 14, then it was 28, then it was 38, and then it was 45, 60, 72, 85. We covered all of these. It was like every other day there was a new update and then it got to over 100, and we stopped counting. We stopped counting at 100 because it was just absurd, right? And out of 100 plus attacks, this is the first time that somebody has passed. I said the obvious, and nobody wants to question this stuff, but it's like, why out of 100 attacks, how did no one miraculously, they said hundreds and hundreds of injuries, but no one perished? Like that seems weird to me, right? But it gave enough reason to keep talking about it, to put it in the back of our head that, oh, they're attacking. And then you have these 3, it looks like 2 women and 1 gentleman. They all perish, in this incident. This causes a huge uproar. I mean, this is a big deal. 3 U.S. troops perished directly from, something from this. So we knew this was coming. It was just a matter of time. If they truly are attacking like hundreds of times, then yeah. So I doubt that this is something that they haven't thought about the plan about, and some believe that they have a complete plan for. Some believe that they've been trying to go to conflict with Iran for a very long time. It's all up to you, to what you want to believe. But again, it's getting crazy. It's getting absolutely nuts. And from DC, let's head over to Elon Musk's startup Neuralink implants over to California into the brain of the first human test subject. Now, he also announced telepathy today. So the whole telepathy thing is absolutely crazy. And in fact, let me just pop over. I'm gonna show you what he said in his tweet real quick. Let me go over to this real quick, and I'll read you Elon's exact description. So, and by the way, there we are live. I'll just wave to my future self here. Thank you guys. And then let's see here. So let's go down to Elon. Oh, wait, did I already pass it? Yes, I did. Yeah, enables control of your phone or computer and through them almost any device just by thinking. Initial users will be those who have lost the use of their limb. Imagine if Stephen Hawking could communicate faster than a speed typist or auctioneer. That is the goal. That was the tweet right after the first Neuralink product is called telepathy. No joke, he called his first product telepathy. This is where we're at. And I know I'm assuming some folks are questioning if this is really going to work. I mean, people should question like everything that's coming out right now about a science this insane. This is science fiction now coming true. This is no longer theoretical. They're going to have you be able to control, type, do everything. Think about how this not only is going to change life, but think about entertainment and videos and video games. They're going to be able to reverse this either way. I mean, think about that. To be able to type and say things, and every word then tells this chip what word you're thinking about. That means, and this is the scariest part, once you have a Neuralink in your brain, say if the chip can understand that, if this chip has wireless or anything like that, and they're probably going to say that, oh, it's not, and it's this or that, who knows? You're talking about your thoughts will be able to be read by somebody else. And I'm sure they're not going to advertise that. And it's probably not what, they're going to say that there's something that protects that and you're totally private. But is anybody going to really trust that? Like, think about that. If it can read your thoughts to type something onto a page, that means they can literally read your thoughts. Think about that. If they are able to know what people are thinking, oh, that is scary. I mean, that is scary. I'm sure there'll be some safety switch. You can switch it off and then the machine isn't listening to your thoughts. This is so freaky. They're inserting this into people's brains. If they do a test and it kills somebody, like, this is going to be freaky. Dex, like, is this not just like the wild... For those that think it's end times, it's like we're at the precipice of a huge world war. Everything is about to bake off, and you at the same time you have developments in human evolution like this. Like, it's crazy. This is almost biblical.
Yeah, it certainly is. And look, even the way they're implanting this is kind of creepy. Like, the surgeon will remove a portion of the skull, but then this surgical robot comes in and connects like 1,000 of these, sensors, if you want to call them that, or interface lines that connect into the brain. And, even as it says here in the article, the long-term goal of this is to have this available for everyone. I mean, they really want to have this available for billions of people and unlocks human potential and go beyond our biological capabilities. End quote. More specifically. So, I don't know what's scarier, having a robot do the surgery. I don't know. I don't know if I want a human doing that kind of surgery either, because it's probably so delicate that a human's hand may not be able to perform it. That's what's even creepier about this when you think about how detailed they're getting. And then, like you said, you look at where they're going with it and being able to read the mind to control things. Well, they're going to read the mind for a lot more than that. Eventually, it's, uploading information into the brain just as much as it's downloading information from the brain. And, I know I have said, that at some point, those who don't agree to this are going to be left in the dust. In other words, not now, not in our generation, but maybe in a generation or two down the road, it's going to be normal, where it's normalized that everyone has it. And because you have it, you now have super brain power that's extraordinarily higher than anyone else. And when everybody sets that as the new bar, then anyone who doesn't have it is what you might think of today as, special needs, where you just don't have the capacity to sustain around life at that time. And that's what's going to be scary, because that becomes a state where it's not just so much a choice anymore. It's almost a mandate, because you won't be able to function in a society that is full of people with these brain chips.
Yeah, as someone said in chat, upgrade or be left behind, right? But if you think about this, just as if you used to go apply for a job, they say, well, do you know Excel? Do you know spreadsheet? Do you know 10 key, right? Do you know how to type on and register? In the future, it will be like, well, so are you linked or are you not unlinked, right? Or do you have Neuralink or you don't? Oh, you don't. Okay. Let's see. I think we have a janitor position open. Hold on. Let me check. Yeah, no, even our janitors are requiring Neuralink now because of the new cleaning robots that you have to link with. Sorry, sir, you're going to have to go back out to the lobby. But thanks for applying. And you chose not to do Neuralink? Oh, okay. That's how interviews will go in the future. So you choose not to have unlimited information into your brain like a superhuman. Oh, okay. You choose not to have something implanted into your brain by a robot. Yeah. Some people call it the mark. Some people call it evolution. Some people call it whatever. My personal thought is there are cool things Elon does. This one scares the hell out of me, and it should scare people. How are they going to prove that this thing isn't going to read our minds for bad purposes? Everything good, it doesn't matter what it is, usually at some point, somebody takes advantage of that and uses it for bad. It's just in human nature. It's It's so freaky we're even talking about this. And it makes me think like, oh, we're right at this edge of evolution. That it seems like that would be the time when everything would collapse. Dex, go ahead.
Well, and let's not forget, this is technology. It's not, analog. It's not something that's not tied to technology. It's digital. Everything in the world that is tech related is hackable. And that's what's so scary also is even if you do accept this, what can be done to you without you knowing? Not even just the scary thoughts of somebody trying to control the world. Maybe nobody's doing that. Maybe they're just making this so that people can be better humans. But what happens when the idiot hacker, on some other foreign land sitting behind a keyboard and a monitor in the dark starts taking control of people's brains and starts doing things with it? That's what's scary because everything that's digital is hackable. At the end of the day, it always is.
Yeah, I mean, think about future Fantastic Freddy events done by people that they say I don't remember it, and they're telling you the truth. Or think about a Minority Report type situation. If you haven't seen that movie, it's a classic movie. They have precogs, which at first you kind of think it's AI, but it's actually human beings that they've genetically modified, and they can see the future in their dreams, and they can see people essentially taking other people's lives, and that's the only thing they can see, or something like it. And it shows that in the future they'll arrest you for a crime that they have seen in the future you commit. With this, even if you have a thought, if you think I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. And if they consider a certain watch in the future, they could take it like, well, if you think, oh man, I want to, take that guy's life or whatever, that's one thing. But if you actually have the thought like, I wonder at 4:00 I could be at his work and I could do this, and you think about it, then that's considered attempted this or that. I mean, in the future, if these rich elites who probably wouldn't have something like this, or if they did, they would have full control over it. In the future, they would want absolute control, everything tracked, everything traced, and be able to control entire populations and really have the amount of people that they want to have, just enough to have their happy world live and not affect them personally. But the majority of the people at the very top, they do not want the majority of us here. They think that we are garbage. And you think that, like, if you're a normal person, well-to-do, oh, well, I'm not one of those. Yeah, you are. They look at anybody, even well-to-do people that, might be even, middle class. That's garbage to them. If you are not in their class, you aren't in a class at all. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank your mods, by the way. And I did miss the actual live, but I checked out Wages World's last videos. And then, again, he did a show with Trinity. So if you haven't been over to the channels over on marfooglenews.com/friends, make sure to go over there. There's lots of great creators. Trinity is an up-and-coming YouTuber, and she is just puts so much effort into her videos. And then Wages World is closing in on 60,000 subscribers. He's a good friend of mine, and he does great coverage of the solar events going on. And there was just recently a big event. So go right over there after you're done and go check out their videos. And then over to Jordan. What is Tower 22, the military base that was attacked in Jordan, where 3 people perished? Dex, why don't you go over this?
So a lot of people may not know where this actually is. So Tower 22 is the name given to the small base. It sits in what's called a demilitarized zone. It's on the border between Jordan and Syria. I couldn't actually find it on the exact map, but what we were showing there on the map is pretty close to that general area. It is literally right next to the border of Iraq. It's about 6 miles away. And that is where we apparently have some troops stationed, and that's the location that this drone hit. The area is known as Rukaban. It's a vast arid region that was once saw as a refugee camp in the spring when we had things happening with Syria back in 2014. At its height, it had 100,000 people living there, and that's where it's then now sort of turned into a base. So the base began as a Jordanian outpost watching the border, but then it saw that the U.S. had sort of increased our presence there, which a lot of people don't realize we actually have a presence in Jordan, but we do, and that was talked about early on after the event happened back in October with Israel, that we did have, and we were moving a lot of people and equipment there. So but the small installation includes U.S. engineering, aviation, logistics, security troops, and about 350 U.S. Army and Air Force personnel there. So, would assume since they were talking about landing, or they had a drone landing at that location, that it has the capabilities for drones. And this is probably some of the engineering team that would handle the logistics for those Overwatch drones or other drones that are put up for various tasks that are happening around the Middle East. If you watched any of the TV shows like the SEALs or stuff, Navy SEALs or whatever, they always call in an Overwatch, and there's somebody managing that in the Middle East for them. So a base like that is what I'm envisioning as I read through this and try to understand better who was hit.
Yeah, I forget what there was another show I was watching with the same kind of thing where it was based roughly on a true story on the same kind of thing. They sent in a ragtag group to Overwatch, getting close to some oil tycoon's wife or something. Either way, as far as the base there, some said, oh, there's a good chunk of people that are questioning this in its entirety. Hey, that's totally up to you. And most people are going to question everything at this point. The trust in legacy media and in every other agency is pretty low right now. So when you think about this, also think about the signs that war was coming for years. And now it's like all textbook. It's like this one thing after another. As far as this attack and everything that's going on right now, are you surprised? If you watch this show, you should not be. And you could say Fantastic Freddy all day, but in the history books, is this going to be the actual start of when everything starts popping off? I knew it's now January, almost February. I mean, this is the timeline up until March, right? From their time, and what's scary is the timeline that all the banks were given. Banking industry was told, hey, there's from October to March, you guys need to check all of your servers. You need to hire your own cybersecurity experts and check your weaknesses because there's a super huge threat of this and all these weird things like the Federal Reserve hacker going on. The China has targeted our critical infrastructure. You've got all of the countries, NATO, China, Taiwan, Russia, Ukraine, Venezuela, Guyana, Cuba, all of these things going on at the same time. Now you have this in the Middle East. It's like everything is building up. And it's not like one thing is building up and this thing's getting calm. Everything is getting built up at the same time. This is what we have prepared for. This is what preppers have been expecting for a very long time. And when it comes, even then, people will be like, oh, no. The only thing that will stop this is when, I don't even know, if we're at 20, 30, 100,000 American troops perished in the near future in a global war, will they then realize it's World War III? I don't know if some will even do that. Speaking of which, cyber events and everything that's going on, I want to remind you guys, make sure to go over and check out EMP Shield. This is a device that can protect you. It can keep your car running throughout all of this. Go if you haven't already, of course, go look up as far as the company behind this. We started with EMP Shield when they were a tiny little factory making them by hand in Kansas. They are still a small company, but they've expanded a whole lot. In fact, after we worked with them, they ended up getting contracts with agencies like DHS, DOD. They're on the DEMSO team helping protect the Texas grid. As far as the devices you can get, same technology, different packaging, and you can actually put this in your cars, trucks, motorcycles, boats, pretty much anything that you want to keep running. It's a veteran-owned company. It's all made here in America, down to the screws. Again, this will protect you against not only EMPs, but it will also protect you against CMEs, or coronal mass ejections, or a Carrington level event from the sun. We're in the peak, the solar maximum right now. So this is also something that people are looking at for that. If you follow solar weather like Wages World, then you would know for years and years, people have hyped up 2025 and 2024 because we are coming up at that peak. Very unpredictable solar events over the last couple of years, and it's only getting crazier. So this is a safe way that even if you have a CME, you have an EMP or multiple EMP strikes, that your car will run, your truck will get home, your home will protect all of your appliances, your generator will start right up. These are the kind of things people are thinking about right now. Marfooglenews.com/EMP. We have, again, a huge discount when you go through us. That way we get support. You end up helping us with a small commission, and you get a huge discount. It's $50 off per device, and that stacks on top of their sale, which we are grandfathered in because we were one of the first people to affiliate with them. So again, make sure to go check them out. You get a really great deal with it. And again, that stacks on top of all of their crazy sales they run all year. So go check it out, marfooglenews.com/EMP, and make sure to use the code MARF. And then if you have the Energy Flex 1500, they have the Flex 1500 EMP shield in stock. Energy is currently out, I believe, and I can go double check that, but EMP shield still has them in stock. So if you want to get them, you can get them from them as well. marfooglenews.com/EMP. All right. And then, and you'll actually get a $50 off our EMP discount on that energy, the EMP shield. All right. And moving on, John Bolton calls for disproportionate strikes inside Iran after the U.S. Soldiers perished. So this, I haven't heard, and really, Dex, we haven't heard from John Bolton in I don't know, it seems like a few months that we've really covered his statements. But he's now calling for disproportionate strikes inside of Iran after a drone attack took the lives of 3 U.S. service members in Jordan. So he's one of the people screaming at the hilltops, we need to go all out.
Yeah, and I wouldn't expect anything less from him. He's definitely one to talk. He's a war hawk. He always has been. But at the same time, he's had experience. And he's one of the talking heads that's going to be positioned, if you want to say that, to respond. It's not just doing it for his own good looks, because he's a little short on them too. But Bolton is definitely one to talk about the strength side of the military. He was one that always wanted to get into conflict. He is taking a much different approach in what he is saying than the comment we had in the very beginning of the show, which was, hey, be really careful with Iran because you're going to scare them into getting nukes. Well, he, on the other hand, is like, no, you need to go in and just hit them as hard as you can and not give them something that's equal or like kind to what they did to us, but you got to get them really harder and heavier. Now, a lot of people can take either side of that coin and can appreciate the value of both of those different opinions. We'll have to see what this administration does, because currently the track
Sanctions
record has been, it's been super soft. It's like, we'll sanction the Houthis. Like, if we sanction them, they can't get their stuff. Well, that's not true. Come on, you can't sanction the Houthis. Big deal. We'll take out the little shed in the back of behind the building that we think has a whole bunch of weapons in it. So we do these light little things. So now, I think everyone is expecting, and it hasn't happened yet, at least it hasn't since we last looked a few moments ago. It hasn't happened yet, but everyone's expecting a massive response from the U.S. I don't know that it's going to be this big, but we'll see. I would be shocked if we actually hit Iran in their country. That would completely change the game. That would definitely show a sign of strength, but I don't know. We'll have to see. When the prior president took out Soleimani, I think that was done outside of the country. Yeah, it was done outside the country. He was going somewhere else. I believe he was traveling in another country at the time, if I remember correctly. That was a huge hit. That was a big event that sort of, and there were other things that went along with it, like not tariffing, but restricting the oil flow. So not just saying we're going to sanction it, but actually backing it up. And a lot of those things in the past some would say were actually helpful. They, reduced the amount of money that was flowing into Iran, so that gave them less dollars to spend on all of these groups that are on the outside doing all their bidding. I'm not trying to be political here. I'm just saying there's always been different positions taken with different administrations on how to deal with Iran, and Iran has always had a contentious position in the Middle East against Israel specifically. And that is at the root of it where it comes from.
People were
And
scared of
until
Trump.
that,
People
yeah,
were scared of Trump.
or go back presidents before, like some before they were scared of too. And then other presidents before T-Man actually just gave them billions of dollars in cash in an airplane, right? And we saw what that did.
Yeah, it ended up getting put back in helicopters and trucks in cold hard cash and getting moved to private mansions. And then we just left $700 billion worth of gear in certain places, just whatever. Black Hawk, Black Schmock. And then we have NATO. Over to NATO, Putin could strike targets across Europe in an all-out war against the West, generals say. Excuse me. Top NATO generals have warned that Vladimir Putin may strike targets across Europe in an all-out war against the West. Leaders told the Times that the bloc may have as little as 3 years to prepare for a potential Russian offensive on European land, which would see strikes against civilian and military infrastructure deep behind front lines in order to hamper war efforts. They said that Germany would likely be singled out as the central turntable for NATO's continental supply lines, and that targets could range from munitions factories and command centers to power plants, railways, and bridges. Russia has already used similar tactics during its invasion of Ukraine, launching missiles far into Ukrainian territory, while Ukraine itself has retaliated by taking out ammo dumps, fuel depots, and command sites. Lieutenant General Alexander Solfrank, commander of NATO's military logistics center in southwest Germany, said, quote, "If we compare war and operations 10 years ago to 5 years ago, then we realize that we have to accept that also the rear areas will be severely contested." One thing I don't understand is that they haven't even taken over Ukraine yet. And now the NATO is from all different angles. All of these countries are coming out. And here's another thing. So we've covered that in the last 3 weeks, that Dutch commander from the Netherlands, you had German plan leak out that there's going to be a massive war with Russia. You had what am I missing? There's two other countries here. There was Germany, Netherlands, Sweden telling their citizens to prepare, and you have Poland, comments coming out of Poland and Finland. So there's actually 5 that you can relate back to this, and they're all saying that hey, people should prepare. Fugel family and the Pentagon. That's right, and two officials and 2 generals. So they're all saying that this is going to pop off. Now, I understand why some are going to go, I don't believe anything they say. They're always trying to scare us. I get you. But when they're saying this, they're making it sound like it's absolute, right? Well, the same numbers of people also said that they were going to take Ukraine. Now, people didn't believe. In fact, when it came out, the people that distrust the U.S. so much, when Russia said, no, we're actually just doing a drill, they believed that. And then when they came in and they said, oh, we're just doing a special military operation, even I would go, maybe they were in the very beginning. We didn't know who was lying. There was all that stuff with the pipeline. There was all these things happening. And we're like, this is super shady. So we didn't know what was actually going on. But Russia did lie several times, a lot of times. So it's like, at this point, are they actually planning this? Russia ended up accessing plans inside of satellites. They hacked satellites of Ukraine's and got not only Ukraine's plans, but they also got the U.S.'s part in all of this. So they may have taken a peek at the down the road, and now something completely has changed, and now they're going all out. Who knows? But at this point, with everything that's going on right now, the Fugel fam from Germany said that this is real deal, that they are actually setting up framework for grocery stores and other things. They're setting up a wartime framework, and they're actually working directly with store owners of grocery stores and saying, when things get crazy, They're talking about having things ready to be able to put bars into windows and dropping metal grates to protect grocery stores. So if they go into a martial law situation, they can keep grocery stores going. This is something I have not seen anywhere yet. There is no source on it other than Fugel fam. So it can't be confirmed, but I'm just telling you what we were told. So if that is true, it seems like on the back end, things that aren't being said, the back page of things, as Kevin Bacon would say, something is going on. The front page is, of course, during when all of this framework was being set up, everybody was focused on EpiPen and the list of people and this or UFOs and everything else. Anytime something serious is going down, it seems like, oh, let's put something in the sky, a UFO, or have some skydivers drop out of the sky or something with flares. Who knows? But right now, something massive is happening. It's a massive change. We know from the Fugel fam that they're moving tanks, they're moving military gear, and who knows, maybe they're doing that military movement so people do see that. They know everybody's got cell phones. Maybe they are trying to put it in our head that war is about to start. And then they come out and say, oh, everything is good and we fixed it. Maybe right before, maybe they'll scare us to the point of everybody's like, oh, and then they go, oh, JB saved the day. He stopped a war. He averted a crisis right before we all drop ballots in. Who knows? What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. I would love to hear your opinion on what is going on. And if you have information, call us at 224-400-6273 and leave a message. We want to know, especially if there's something going on overseas. If you're in Australia, if you're in Europe, if you're in Poland, Finland, Sweden, Germany, any of these countries, let us know what is happening. And if you can get information or any memos that are public sending to the grocery stores, please send it to us. We will share it ASAP. So an all-out war with the West. And then Dex, Taiwan, China sent several warplanes, Navy ships towards Taiwan after U.S.-China talks.
Yeah. So after we talked about how the plans were going to be, they went out and practiced the run. I don't know. I'm making that up. That's just my opinion. It seems like we've been spending a lot of time talking with China, and there's like this front that we put out that says, "Oh, we have this contention," but it was 3 weeks ago they had spent 2+ hours, 2+ days in private meetings in DC with our military. Like, what were they doing? But nonetheless, here we have it again. A lot of aircraft, 33 aircraft were sent by the Chinese Army on Friday, Saturday. The aircraft included Su-30 fighters. 6 Chinese naval vessels were also headed to Taiwan, and 13 of China's warplanes crossed the median, which is that halfway point, what used to be the demarcation. They used to never cross the median. Now they do it quite often. This time, 13 of those planes actually did. Of course, this causes a scramble on Taiwan's defenses. They have to act and prepare and react as if it's real. They never know which one of these is a drill and which one of these is the real deal. So they continue to stress it. This is the type of thing they used to do all the time, and I'm sure they'll continue to do it all the time. There's probably some showboating after having this conversation with the U.S. talks, but Saturday's developments happened shortly after senior U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan and Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi agreed to meet in Bangkok. Sullivan announced the end of the talks Saturday evening. So then we get this. Whether it's timed or not, nonetheless, it seems a little fishy, but at the same time, we know China's going for Taiwan. They've said it. It's public information. They said we'll take it no matter how we have to do it, by force or by politicians. We're going to take the country one way or the other, and we know they have their sights set on it.
And China has been, getting into every NATO country through their police stations. They're setting up something, and they're working with several politicians. In my opinion, I think that there's money going into a lot of pockets. There's money going into a lot of media companies. I don't think that I know that the coverage will not be accurate once everything starts going down, because We have already seen. By the way, Dex, do you remember when we covered this? I don't know if it was the New York Times or Seattle Times. There was one of the big newspapers, or maybe it was the Washington Post, but there was a negative story put out about the Spratly Islands. It was a positive op-ed saying that it essentially agreed with, China's right to the Spratly Islands. It ended up leaking out that it was paid for, and that they were able to actually pay for a positive spread in this huge magazine, and they just put it out. Once this got called out, newspapers and media basically took down a ton of stories. In fact, a ton of op-eds, a ton of different things just got deleted overnight. And the story went away. Everybody, there's no real journalism. These journalists that did bust it out, they're like, oh, well, this is your last day, by the way. Actually, we don't want to publish that. Because people talking about it, those stories didn't run. Meanwhile, the stories saying, oh, yeah, we think China actually should have the Spratly Islands. Things like that were put out. So for the right amount of money, they can sway not only opinions, but they can sway U.S. and all of our other media companies. And we know this happens, but there was actual proof of it. Dex, do you remember that? And we when we covered it, it was like we couldn't believe that some of the biggest newspapers got paid off by China to put out basically what they wanted.
They have been so influential in our media, in our entertainment industry, like Hollywood. They're ingrained in everything, and that's a scary thought, that how much influence they can wield. I mean, look at the social media, look at the programming of our children right now. China pretty much has control of that, and we allow it. It's TikTok, and they can with the spin of a dial can decide what information should be more influenced and programmed into the brains of our youth than anyone else. They have that power right now, and we've given it to them over the years.
And the reason why the most trending videos go to the very top, like if it's a live stream, if it's talking about controversial subjects like whether or not people keep their babies, that subject, if you want to talk about First Amendment or all of these, and it only sways, and it will only let you stay on live on that platform if you're basically arguing for or against something on one side. That's not because they're on that side. That's not because of anything else. They're putting it out there because they know that most of the older folks here in the United States are going to believe something completely different. They're causing a divide. If you divide the youth and the old, you're going to divide the classes, the rich and the poor, the this color and this color. If you do all of that, if you have control over that, then you are going to cause all sorts of havoc. And this is before the lights even go out. Those videos that go to the very top, it's not like they believe in that, whatever the cause that is. They just want to teach the opposite of what the majority of the people they are enemies with. They want the youth to believe something completely opposite. And then that way it just butts heads. We haven't had it. I don't think we've had a generation like this. Even back in the 60s and 70s when, the youth were like, hey, we want peace. We don't want war. The parents would, every generation has the teenagers, the angsty teenagers go, I don't want my parents are old and they're this, and it's a different generation. This generation, kids are not talking to their parents. We have seen the largest separation of youth and their parents. Sadly enough, it's like the kids that are not paying attention in school are lucky. It's crazy to me that the kids that are doing really bad in school, that aren't making it to school, bad attendance, and this isn't a recommendation, but the kids that have bad attendance, the kids that are not paying attention, they are the best off right now because they're not getting, trained. And that's really sad. They won't know math, they won't know English and comprehension, but they also won't know, indoctrination. So it's very crazy what's going on right now, and it's very clear to see, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. By the way, Viv B, thank you so much for your support. Not only yesterday, but today. Bolton looks like Yosemite Sam. I'm never going to be able to unsee that. Mitch Mouth, thank you for your hard work. Hey, thank you, Mitch Mouth. I appreciate that. K. Parker Frazier, I stand with Texas. Blessings and love to all. NJM, they spot jellyfish UFO UAPs, but not a garbage old enemy drone. Come on. Yep, exactly. Domenico Lavara, thank you. Thank you for your support from Australia. Be Real Beast, thank you, and thank you. It's super awesome to see you pop in again. And then Mimi Carstel, KT Cleans a Lot, and many others. Thank you guys for your support this week. And also just wanted to say thank you to over on DLive. Thank you, Kiki Gray, Kelly2334, celebrating an anniversary there. Michelle K. Kiki Gray says, pray for all to come into the kingdom. Much love to all. Michelle K, thank you. And Kimbria Fractured Fusion, Priscilla R, and everybody else over there. Thank you. Jay Winch, hello, Marf fam. And thank you again, Jay Winch 99 for supporting. My wife knows Marf music since 2017, like Marf. Hey, thanks. That's awesome. And then North Korea says Leader Kim supervised tests of cruise missiles designed to be fired from submarines. This is wild if true. We don't know what to believe that comes out of North Korea because it's all, everything keeps altering and changing. Everybody's afraid of Iran getting nukes. North Korea already has it, and they're even crazier. But apparently they have new technology again. We've covered probably 3 or 4 stories about brand new technology in the hands of North Korea. The understanding is that they're trading with Russia. Who knows, though? They could also be trading with China. Out of South Korea, North Korean Kim Jong-un supervised test firings of new cruise missiles designed to be launched from submarines and also reviewed efforts to build nuclear-powered submarine while reiterating its goal of building a nuclear-armed navy to counter what it portrays as growing external threats. That's what their state media said. The report came a day after South Korea's military said it detected North Korea firing multiple cruise missiles over the waters near the eastern port of Sinpo, where the North has a major shipyard developing submarines. It was the latest in a streak of weapons demonstrations by North Korea amid increasing tensions with the United States, South Korea, and Japan. What I find fascinating too is you don't hear much about the North Korean submarines. It's crazy to me that they can build submarines. Someone I talked to last year said that North Korea had somebody in North Korea, and this is something that where they had somebody that was born there, born raised, some sort of aquatic genius who designs different military submarine applications or something, that this guy was a super expert, and for whatever reason, he was born in North Korea. Apparently, this guy is really, really good. And what's crazy is you never know where the next Albert Einstein's going to be born. You never know when the next genius, the next genius is going to be born. Apparently, they actually do have a really good scientist there that is really good at designing I don't know if you call him a scientist. What do you call a submarine architect? And he's really, really good at what he does. So much so that this gentleman said that other countries have asked for him and said that they would pay Kim Jong-un under the table to have this guy help them design things. That is something I have not seen either. And it's like, if that is true, it would make sense why all of a sudden there's all of these new stories about the, North Korea submarine. It's crazy to me to think that North Koreans could be coming over by submarine in the first place. Now, as far as what I've seen publicly is that they have crappy submarines. That may change if this is true. Not only that, if they end up trading technology with Russia, Russia has some of the quietest submarines. We've actually covered the Pentagon saying that Russia's submarines are now either close or almost on par with the U.S. All modern submarines right now are very, very quiet. Uh, but, when you get to the point where these things are basically sleepers, it's very, very creepy. Dex, as far as North Korea, I mean, could they just pull up on New York? I mean, you know, could this be an issue? They have a triad.
That ultimately that's what they're trying to get to. And I don't know if they have the technology as far as the nuclear powers yet to run the subs. I know that's one of the things that they were testing. That's one of the things they were looking to get from Russia specifically was the capabilities of having more nuclear powered subs as opposed to diesel or older style submarine technology, which would allow them to be more quiet and allow them to give them more distance and more time underwater without surfacing. So that I think would give them another leg up if they get to that point. But just having submarines. I mean, if it's not the U.S., it's putting them off the coast of South Korea. It's putting them off the coast of Japan. It's um, certainly could come to the U.S. It's a long distance for them. I don't know how many they actually have, and if they can support a fleet that would do that much distance and then be able to maintain and support them while protecting their homeland if that's part of their strategy. But yeah, I mean, that's a scary thought.
Jerry Shirts says they do explosive welding, stainless to aluminum, outside of Squim, Washington. I was cutting parts on a water jet. I was told that the parts were for Chinese submarines. What? Jerry Shirts, what? I wonder, these kind of comments that drive me crazy because, like, if that is happening, where is the story on that? Like, I guess it just happened here, but can you find out more and see if it's something I don't, you don't want to get in trouble or anything, but what the heck? I could see that happening. I mean, they make a lot of parts for us. Are we making submarine parts for them? I mean, how stupid. They're an adversary. I could see making parts for Australia. We do. I mean, or other allies, but making submarine parts for our adversaries? How stupid do you have to be? Who knows? Virginia Navy again lowers requirements as it struggles to meet recruitment goals. We called this. This is from community information. They just keep lowering the standards to get into the military. This goes back to a video we just did the other week, which, mind you, we've covered all of the weird stories like the recruiting, all of a sudden the late night deployments, the dropping almost all of the requirements for recruiting officers. They were calling and people back in. They said, we need to meet this quota. They're not hitting the requirements. And really no surprise there, since TikTok is telling all the youth and making videos go viral of soldiers saying, do not enlist. Of course, they make that get 50 million views by every youth. But now the U.S. Navy is starting to enlist individuals who didn't graduate from high school or get a GED, marking the second time in a year that service has opened the door to lower performing recruits as it struggles to reach enlistment goals. Do you realize how easy it is to get a GED? You just go take 5 tests. They are dropping that requirement. That should say something. Dex, I mean, when you saw that, did you not think, what? Because a GED, anybody can go get, and most people, even if you're struggling, you can go get your GED for free. There's programs you can get it.
Well, they're also saying that the test the qualification test they give them, they'll now allow them as long as they score a 50 out of 99. I mean, that's 50%. That's all you got to do. I mean, they're really hurting. That's pretty bad.
Stories like this are a piece to the bigger puzzle. This is why we say that the back page stuff is what you need to pay attention to. The fact that they're lowering the Navy you don't even need a GED. I can understand like high school and GED, like if you didn't finish, a lot of us didn't finish high school, like, okay. But if you don't, you at least go get your GED. If you didn't do either, not hating on you, but it's a requirement for the Navy, like that you at least have a high school equivalent. That should be a requirement. You're talking about the men and women who are protecting the country. The men and women who may be put in charge of watching nuclear weapons. Like, you know, I guess they can put them on a desk job. Back when I tried to join the Navy, they didn't do the tattoos below the arm. They didn't. That was back when it was like no tattoos. I couldn't join because of a tattoo. Now they're not even requiring a GED. That's insanity. You know, it's like this is a bigger story than a lot of the other stuff that people put on, and it's like everybody should pay attention. These kind of and we said this was going to happen. When you start seeing the really weird recruitment requirements being dropped, that means we're going to war. These are the signs, like shipping out blood, doing blood draws, asking for massive amounts of people to donate blood. This is all happening. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Before we move on, if you don't have any extra food, I'd highly recommend going and checking out marfooglenews.com/prep. We also have a new link, marfooglenews.com/bake. Really awesome off-grid oven that you could either use the 6-hour canned heat. In fact, they come with a huge package. Go check it out. You actually get a ton of stuff with it. Or you can throw pine cones and sticks and twigs in it and start a fire and cook with it. So this is an awesome unit. It's incredibly handy, especially the fact that you can basically grab from whatever's around you and end up using it to cook with and to bake. Go over to marfooglenews.com/bake. And then, of course, if that same link, marfooglenews.com/bake, you can also put prep instead of bake, and you can get the freeze-dried food. All right, and let's see here. Let's go over to the UK. Dex, do you want to talk about the crisis with the Royal Navy?
So this is an interesting piece coming from one of their papers over there, but it's saying that none of Britain's destroyers or frigates have the firepower to actually attack the Houthi targets on the land, and that's what it's claimed. So a British defense source claimed that the HMS Diamond, a warship considered a jewel in the naval crown, had not joined the retaliatory strikes against those targets because it didn't have the capability to fire to land. So having Navy ships not equipped with surface-to-surface missiles, a former senior defense chief claimed, was a scandal. They told the newspaper, it's clearly a scandal and completely unsatisfactory. This is what happens when the Royal Navy is forced to make crucial decisions which can affect capability. So this goes hand in hand with the story we talked about last week, which kind of goes with the story we just talked about a minute ago with our own Navy having trouble recruiting. The UK is not doing really well. They're not even positioned well to defend themselves against Russia, for example. Their recruit levels and their military spending, well, some of it may be up, but the amount of their force size is a lot lower. And then you see things like this, where they're getting a lot of flack from the military bigwigs that have been in position before, saying, what do you mean you have a ship that's like one of our best ships out there and it doesn't even have the ability to strike land? So
who do you think steps in?
It doesn't make a lot of sense for them, and it really just shows a big weakness in NATO's capability.
When they can't do something, was it the UK that also has like 77,000 soldiers in total? If they hit,
yes, that's the report from last week. It was very low, like 77,000, and it wasn't even. They didn't even make their recruiting level. It's supposed to be a little bit more than that, and what they wanted it to be wasn't much more.
So what do you think if Russia, if any of this is true, which you better hope that it's all fake news, if it's not true, That's great. But if it's true that if Russia goes to war with Europe, guess what happens? This is history repeating itself. A war in Europe, we go and we help. And then we get extremely involved. But guess what? We also have a looming invasion. Do you think that China is not going to take the advantage? If we're at war with Russia, do you think China is not going to take that advantage to then cordon off Taiwan and try to take Taiwan? Do you think Venezuela is not going to be like, maybe this is a good time to take Guyana? And then North Korea is going to be like, well, they're really stretched thin. Maybe we should try to take South Korea. It seems obvious to me what's about to happen. This is how the world war will pan out. And they're like, well, then what's going to happen with the US dollar and the Federal Reserve? Oh, wait, we can fix that by starting BRICS. So when the world war is going on, they're going to have a whole system set up. And then Russia's like, well, gosh, we use their internet and everything else. Oh, wait, we created an intranet. So when we do go to war, we'll be able to cut our internet off from the rest of the world. It all happened. This is all steps. These are all patterns you saw beforehand. Not to mention on our side, on NATO's side, they've been preparing this for half a decade, hardcore, and over a decade they've known. Viv B says, war is the best Depop method. It shifts the blame to your enemy and away from those who are really up there in control. Think of millions perish in just a few years from both world conflicts. It's evil genius. I don't even think, and it probably wouldn't, it's not going to be, it's crazy to think about that even in a world war, it's not that many compared to the world population, but it's going to be a very specific group of people and everybody's going to know somebody. It's kind of like in Vietnam. Back then, everybody knew somebody that was affected by Vietnam. Even though, our number was so much smaller than the Vietnamese number, everybody knew somebody that went off and died. Think about a world war in our generation. It's going to be nuts. But who knows? Maybe it will be drone versus drone, and a lot of people won't perish. And then Russia is replacing its destroyed tanks at a rate of 100 a month, UK Intel says. Dex, wasn't it back? We covered it. Was that 30 or something?
Yes.
Yeah.
So both of these articles we got to look at, and the big deal. So the Russian one, that's now. The second article is an article about U.S. production, and I think we need to compare and contrast this and think about what it means when you get into kinetic war. And if we start to go with more equipment and we start to go hot in the Middle East, in NATO, in China, or anywhere else, how are we going to produce this? But look at what Russia's doing. The report from the UK says they are replacing their tanks at the rate of 100 tanks a month. 100. We make 12. Okay, the amount that we were doing. At one point we were doing 75 per month back in the 90s or something like that, and we thought we could double that. Now it's like 12.
So
how are we gonna do this?
They're gonna have to. And Dex, don't you remember they set up they already set up the framework to switch over, right? It's a wartime thing. Remember that they were setting up a framework so that if they needed to change over factories to something else, it was a wartime thing. And we were like, oh, this is an old wartime law to be able to shift production into other things. And we're like, that's weird. Well, no wonder.
Yeah.
If we go to war, they're going to immediately have to take factories that don't make tanks and turn them into tank factories.
Yeah, and I don't know that tanks are the most important thing going forward. I know a lot has changed in the landscape, and it's going to be drones and other stuff. But look, when it comes to manufacturing and building, rewind to World War II, we shifted all of our factories. We rationed everything, and we just started to become a machine that was just cranking out everything we needed for our military. And, we've done that in the past. We saw some of those acts used during CV to like crank out some equipment that went in the hospitals. But at the end of the day, when you think about the pace at which, while we may be developing cool and state of the art equipment, it's not like we crank this stuff out in a hurry. And the pace that you see somebody like Russia and UKR losing equipment left and right because they're in a very kinetic, ground based war, how are we going to be able to produce and support that? And not only that, how much of the equipment that we have has parts and components and relies on steel or other things that may not even be manufactured or come from our country? And will we be able to get them from those other countries? Or even worse, are they dependent on China? And China is who we're at war with. That's scary.
In the future, we could see things like, well, gosh, you could even see them stop change again and say, oh, well, we need the metal. We need the metal for this. Now go all digital so we can use the metal from change for weapons. You could see them essentially starting recycling programs for the state that, turn in any metal you have so they can scrap metal and get all the metal they can for weapons and bullets and all sorts of other things. There's gonna, what I hear less of now is I hear less people saying, oh, you're just trying to make people afraid. Now people are seeing it, and it's going to get even more clear as time goes. And your family that said you were crazy and that, oh, okay, yeah, they're all going to start to see it, and it's going to sideswipe them in the face. And then we have the Philippines' U.S. allies' new weapon to counter China's maritime threat. India is poised to fulfill an order to the Philippines for its homemade BrahMos missiles, marking a significant moment for New Delhi's defense exports, as well as in warming ties with Manila, as both governments face shared challenges from neighboring China. The delivery, scheduled for completion by next month, comes 2 years after India and the Philippines signed a deal worth nearly $375 million, aimed at equipping the Philippines Marines with 3 batteries of anti-ship variants of the BrahMos supersonic cruise missile, which can be launched from the land, ground, and air. The Philippines is America's oldest treaty ally in Asia, while India and the United States have been brought closer together by mutual concerns surrounding China's military buildup, as well as assertive behavior against other smaller claimants of disputed territories in the South China Sea. As Manila is seeking to strengthen its military capabilities against adversaries with increasing tensions with China in the South China Sea, the timely delivery of 3 batteries of BrahMos supersonic cruise missiles with a range of 310 miles will add to the country's capabilities, protect its coasts, and its maritime claims against its adversaries. By the way, speaking, I which one is this? Newsweek. I think Newsweek. God, is this AI that wrote this? If talk about GED, there's no commas there. It's like talk about a run-on sentence. There's no periods or commas from here all the way down to here. Talk about, that's a run-on paragraph. Sorry.
I wonder if it's a translated quote, because it's a quote.
Yeah, but
maybe
if you're translating it, if you're in English, you would go, oh, a comma belongs there. I don't know.
Yeah, you would think.
Or a semicolon, whatever. Anyways, but essentially they're doing these deals. I still don't think India is 100% going to be on our side if this all goes down. I mean, they're in BRICS. They're doing deals. They're two-facing it. That's my opinion. What's yours? Let me know.
They're like Turkey.
Yep. That's how I feel, at least. And then Dex, Iran takes the lives of 4 Israeli spies over bomb plot on weapons factory.
So yes, we have a claim here saying that they have found and eliminated some serious spies, as they would claim them, from their adversary, Israel, that were allegedly planning to target one of their factories belonging to the defense ministry and involved in their missile and defense equipment, according to the Iran news agency. So the four men were allegedly trained by Israeli intelligence and in an African country before entering, and the plot was allegedly averted. That's what they're claiming. And now they've had their sentences carried out. Not the kind of sentences you would think. These are the harshest sentences of all. They've been eliminated. Excuse me. So, this game of back and forth between Iran and Israel is going to continue. And it's going to be everything from kinetic to activities like this where they're, taking out each other's spies, and especially when they can catch them and hold them accountable. Don't kid yourself. There's plenty in prisons in Israel that have, somehow been tied back to Iran for sure, whether they're spies or just the traditional label of the T word that we don't like to say. So, yeah, this is, and again, because everything's happening right now in the Middle East and everything's talked about right now with Iran, we're going to get a lot of stories and a lot of information that's going to be pumped out from them. Or in this case, as we're transitioning here, Adam, to what's happening here in the U.S. with people from Iran.
The DOJ charged an Iranian operative with hiring Hell's Angels bikers for taking people out in the U.S. I don't think they would need to do this anymore because now they can just come in through the bottom and do it themselves. But, I don't know. There's going to be a few folks that are like, no, because I'm not an expert on Hell's Angels. I've met the Washington president one time at a bar, but that's about as my direct experience with Hell's Angels other than the friends of friends. And it's like some of the chapters are, do community service. I don't know what they're secretly doing, but they do a lot of, friendly stuff. But the Hells and Angels have gone up and down as far as their organized crime stuff. I'm certain there's probably still a lot of Hells Angels out there that do some really, really crazy stuff. But this claim is pretty big. They're saying that Iran was hiring Hells Angels to take people out. That's insanity. Yeah. We're just in a crazy place right now. If you don't have a backup generator, make sure to go check out Energy. You can of course find one at marfooglenews.com/energy. Again, really, really great expandable solar generator. And of course it is, now they have the new tactical, which is essentially their toughest. It is actually going to be going out for the STTR Phase 2 contract for the U.S. Army. So if you haven't already, I know most of you already know, again, why I believe in this one. Make sure to go check out marfooglenews.com/energy and make sure to use that code Marfoogle. Doing a couple things differently here. Remember, the website has full bibliography. Dex, that's over in the description. I want to thank you, Dex, for everything you did today. I appreciate you.
Great job. Much love, brother.
It is now time for the Shoutro. The Shoutro is going to head right over to Jams. And I want to thank Tim B. Thank you again, Viv B. And I used to be in the library. Thank you guys. Much love. Top supporters. Again, we're going to be making songs for you over on Marfoogle Jams. Have a good night, guys. Be safe. Be prepared.